to when that would be completed?
We can, we can work faster than you can.
We're just not very fast.
I'm not saying much, Phil. We've proven that anytime. That's good.
We were hired, I'm going to a meeting in Air right now where we were hired in mid-January to start the feasibility study and for a high school, middle school. And that Monday, we're making the preliminary submission to MSBA. So within 2 months, we will have made the preliminary submission to MSBA, and 2 weeks later, or 3 weeks later, we will make the final submission. So we can work fast. But in order to do that, we required the building committee to meet every Thursday night from the day they hired us, and we continue to do that. So again, the sword cuts both ways. You know, in Schedule 2, we can work faster than you, but you also need to keep up.
Thank you.
All right. Good. Thanks a lot, Phil.
I don't have a question for you, Phil. Thank you. I do have a question.
Go ahead.
In a regard for the Cumberland Developmental Center land, as a contingency, would it be wise to hold that in regard in case we're not able to meet the SBA's guidelines for timetable and we fail? That land would still be developed if we go ahead and take a second bite of the apple with a statement of interest in the future. Any regard for making a motion for keeping that? Because I don't want Senator Brewer to feel that
Keeping what?
keeping the push on to develop that down to a school
okay.
site. I want to keep the momentum for that going, and I don't want anything that we're committed to tonight to send a signal to Senator Brewer that we indeed are not interested in.
Right. I think it probably would be a good idea for us to vote to support that activity with the Board of Selectmen and be very much in favor of that option if it comes to fruition. That wasn't a motion, though, but you could make one that sounds
Somebody
just like
less
that.
long-winded than me, given my history, could make that motion. I could probably do it in a sentence.
Give it a shot.
I move that we continue to develop the Cumberland Developmental Center site as a contingency for a future school project.
I second.
Okay. All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I have one
Good.
question, though.
Mhm.
If these people in this town, knowing everybody how they are, if they think we're gonna get some free land 10 years down the road, they'll wait 10 years to do this.
Yeah,
So that's the only thing that's my only disregard, my problem with this.
yeah.
Because they don't wanna buy, they don't wanna spend any money anyways.
Well,
And
they're
if they
gonna
think
have
they're
to
gonna get something
realize-
free 5 years down the road, they say, well, let's wait 5 years and we'll get the land free.
They'll have to realize that MSBA won't be reimbursing
Yeah,
at
but they
that
don't,
point either.
they don't care. These people, they're stupid.
Dennis, we're on TV.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that, I apologize.
Even if we aren't gonna put a school there, I think we should still pursue it, because
Yeah.
True, true.
the argument we had when we went with the folks from the Fernald School about the land was that school has paid limited, I mean practically no taxes to the town for how many years?
Yeah.
And they owe the town something. And so if we pursue that piece of land, I think they should give the town a piece of land no matter what we want it for. So I think we should pursue it, because they owe us big.
I agree.
I feel.
But the reality is, we are going to pursue that, so I don't think
It
it
becomes a
necessarily
school
hurts for us to vote
Yeah,
to support that, which we've already
Yep.
done, so. All right.
So does the committee want a letter sent on behalf of the committee to the selectmen?
Yeah.
Let's just vote tonight?
It's probably a good idea. We don't have to vote that way, do we?
I mean, just, that's yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, well, I was just asking, we don't need to vote to send a letter, I don't think, but I think we could send one. Okay, Cal, do you have anything else?
Well, I would just say, I mean, I want to kind of coalesce what everyone's thinking to be sure that I'm thinking what you guys are thinking. And it sounds like that the Baldwinville site is still the possibility in everybody's eyes, for the most part, that this committee hasn't changed their mind, that they still want to look at that as an option, and that the TC site should be an option as well, that those are really the two options that we have at this point in time that the committee wants to look at. I mean, I think that's what you've said, but I want to be sure that it's not implicit, it is implicit, not
Well-
implied.
It sounds to me like we'd pursue the Templeton Center site. I'm sorry, the Baltimore Road site, and if it passed, then we would do a feasibility study on that site, and then we could decide whether we wanted to add the TC site to it as a second alternative for additional money or not.
I thought,
But if we pursue it and it doesn't pass, then we would come back and decide whether we wanted to do a feasibility study just on the Templeton Center site.
I'm confused, Peter, because I thought what we've discussed was that we would do a feasibility study on both sites and present it, because I know we were
Oh.
concerned about presenting to the town just of another parcel of land.
We could, I mean, but I think what we said is we don't need anybody's really approval to do it on the Templeton Center site, that we want to pursue the Baltimore Road site. Like I said, if it passes, we could still do a feasibility study on both. If it doesn't pass, then we have the option of doing just the one.
Again, maybe others can help me here,
No.
but I thought we didn't want to just bring land, because that's what we did last time, that we want to actually do the feasibility study and bring it to the people to get a vote.
We can do that.
I thought that's what we've been talking about.
yeah. The only other thing is, we're gonna have to ask for more money to pay to have the
Right,
other.
right.
Right. Do you have any idea?
How much, what was their
Can I
price?
get some clarification on that, just because the feasibility project, and this is my understanding, could be wrong, so please correct me if I'm wrong, is that we're supposed to look at build options, no build, reconstruct, redesign, all the options that we can, and that we need to thoughtfully consider all of them. Part of that, I would think, is replacing an existing school is a viable option on land we owned, potentially buying a piece of land, which we've done a lot of work on, to see if it's a viable option to find a piece of land that we can build the size or the design of school we want. Why wouldn't both of those, because like you said, we're just gonna get a ballpark view of these two sites. We're not gonna get a design. Why wouldn't we be able to get both? Not design, but the ballpark view of both of those options. And then we pick the preferred one.
I
That's
think
what I
we
thought.
can. The question is, I mean, just based on what Phil just said,
Well,
I think that his budget, at the time that he got involved in this project and gave us a budget, we had donated land, it was a known quantity, and I think he anticipated doing a full feasibility study with a lot of detail on one particular site, and now it sounds like we may be asking him to do a little more than he had planned. He didn't say how much that would be, but before we decide we wanted to develop both of those, we'd have to go back and find out what's different in his scope of work that makes him feel that he needs additional money.
Can I make a recommendation?
You sure can.
Okay. Can we identify a very small group of people from this committee that will go down to MSBA with Carl and actually sit down and talk to them about all of this, lay it out with them have a dialogue, and just ask them, number one, what they think about where we are in the process, ask some of these questions to them about how much detail and should it be costing us more, get it from the authority, and do this in a timely manner, a week, maybe next week, the week after, and then call the committee back together again once we've been to MSBA and we can kind of, because we still keep going around with questions. Let's just go and ask the questions and then come back and bring the information to the committee. I mean, it's going to be a week or two. We have the warrant now, we have the article on for the land, so that's good. We know we don't have to put it on for TC. We might have a little more sense of what's going on with this, with Senator Brewer in a week's time. Does that make sense to this group?
Well, I think it makes sense. I think it's a good idea. I don't want everybody to think that you're going to come back with concrete answers.
No, but I think we'll
'Cause,
have,
the way they
we'll
work-
have MSBA answers.
The way they work is, it's a very formal process. You do your feasibility study, you submit it, you defend it, and then they decide, so asking them to give us definitive answers on things. You heard Phil. I mean, it's a good effort. I think it's worth doing, but we
When
may
did
not come
the
back.
Roof project, we hit glitches with the roof projects, we went down with the OPM. They had a team there that listened to us. We made some presentations. They really thoughtfully thought about it. They made some responses, and then they got back to us. I think they want us to be successful. But I'm just feel like, because, one point, Bill said, well, you're going to have to ask MSBA, and then, a few minutes later, he said, well, they're not going to really give you that answer. So, I mean, I'm feeling like we're trying to make a really important decision about moving forward because we need to be able to use this feasibility money to try to get a school. And if I'm gray, I don't know how everybody else, if it's still gray in this room, if making that effort to go down to MSBA, I know Rosalie's done it before with projects, they're not going to give you definitive answers, but I think we're going to have a much better sense of what we're facing.
Well, I think that's why I started off by saying, Ruth, that I agreed with you,
No, I
and
know
that we
you
should do that, so I
But
mean,
even
I didn't
if we
argue
don't,
against
it's a
it.
good faith effort, and I
Right.
said in the beginning of the meeting, I think we should go down and just get that answer if we can get it. If we can't get it, we've made the effort. We've done the
Well, it's
best
not
we
only
can.
trying to get an answer, I think it's trying to tell the story.
Right,
So they
right.
understand where you are.
That's, exactly. So we're not worried in fear of that June date looming coming up.
I'm sort of gray also now.
Join the club.
Are we coming to the town meeting with 2 feasibility studies? I mean, if you come to the
No,
town...
no.
I think we're going
Well,
with one
just-
option.
Why are we doing 2
I w-
feasibilities?
We're not.
I think we're going with one option. I was just talking about a couple of backup alternatives there.
No, she brought up 2
No, I thought
feasibility...
part of the feasibility study was looking at TC, in addition to looking at the Baldwinville Road.
And I heard that's what we were doing, because Kyle said he would need more money. I mean, Phil.
Phil,
What?
We voted.
you're right. Phil said he thought he would
Right.
need
So if
more
we go
money.
to town meeting with 2 feasibility studies, I can tell you right now what's going to pass.
I don't think
The
that's
one
what
for
we-
750 isn't going to pass.
No.
Right.
I don't think that we
This
said that.
committee is charged with coming to the town with a piece of land to put a school on. For us to go to the town and say, well, we got 3 or 4 sites, and I don't think we're charged with that. We're charged to come up with what we think is the proper place to put a school.
Well,
And spend money on that piece of property. Why are we doing 2 fees? I didn't
I don't
realize
think
were
I
gonna
don't
do
think we
that.
should be, but the question was asked, can we?
Can we?
Can
Yeah.
we?
We didn't vote and say we were. And
I-
my understanding is Phil thought if you even start to pursue that, he's gonna quickly state why it couldn't be. I mean, that's because part of the feasibility study also has to look at the existing school and say, can we renovate it? Well, we know that we can't, but we can't say that. You have to have a feasibility study
Process.
that says that.
So we
We already
weren't
had
charged
that.
with finding land to build the school.
We've done
That
that
was not
already.
the charge of the feasibility study. It was to
Yeah, we
look at
have.
all the
Well,
options
essentially we
possible
have.
to get
Well,
an
we
element.
said that it was.
Let's have
Right.
one
But to
discussion.
come back to the town with that option, not 2 or 3 of them, I wouldn't
But you
think.
come
Right,
to
right,
the,
you're right, but then you have to go to MSBA, and they have to approve your preferred option
Right.
out of a group of options.
Yeah, you only go to the town with one option, but the
Right, right.
feasibility study could look at 2 or 3.
Exactly. Do you see the difference? No.
I bet he can see the difference as long as it doesn't cost any extra money,
Is that it, Jerry? Or you,
to be simplistic. But that's not the case, is it, Jerry?
No. Because the minute you go to the town, you say you got this option, you got that option, they're gonna say, well, I don't want my taxes to go up, I'm taking this option,
Yeah.
and you're gonna be on top of the center.
And
Right.
the MSB is-
but I
That's why we, I
I
think
mean,
that's why we
what
pulled
Darlene
that
said,
option
she
off
was
the
a great
warrant.
argument. What Darlene said earlier was a great argument to give town meeting. We have looked at Temple Center, and it's this, it's all these things that are negative. All right, that's a great argument for the town. I don't think it's an argument for MSBA. Why are we going to them with a site we know is no good?
we have to do more than, we have to look at, what do we have to present, Carl, in our feasibility study? When we go to present it to the MSBA, what do we have to
well,
present?
typically, what MSBA asks you to do is to look at options, and we've talked about this so much, and one is a no-build option. What does no-build give you? What don't your schools get? What type of condition are they in now? What do you have? What maintenance do you have to do on them? All the way to a brand-new facility on a piece of land. Okay? And we've kind of already looked at the school options today, saying that, Baldwinville site, really small. Nothing's going to fit there. The East Templeton, ET that we just closed, another very small site. This one, the Templeton Center, happens to be a larger site, and it's never been considered now, just because it really isn't big enough for a normal school site. And so that's why the Brooks property, I think that was apparent to everybody before this project even started, that the Brooks property really was the logical place to go. And that's why Phil, when he looked at this project and saw it, he looked at developing one parcel of land, not going to two, not doing two site surveys, not doing two hazmat surveys, not doing two of everything. When you look at options, when a school district has a piece of land, the Brooks property, you go in and you might develop 2 or 3 options for that one piece of land, but you're not doing two site surveys, you're not duplicating all your services. That's what makes the difference in going to, another traffic study. You have to do a traffic study at each one, It's just a lot of additional stuff that you have to do because you're looking at 2 sites. So you would look at those, and then we would, say with whatever we do, we've had 6 options, let's say. 3 of them fall out of the wayside because they don't make any sense. One of them's an Otter River. Well, that's kind of been an option. No one really wanted that one, but it's kind of fallen off the table, right? Because it didn't even make it to paper because it's not worth it, or that's what you as a committee and a group decided. So we just get to the process where we have, viable options, and we look at those options. And then you as a committee would pick, once you saw all the costs involved with those options, you would pick which one you think is the most appropriate for the educational needs of the town.
And then you take that to MSBA, and
Well,
hopefully they agree.
you're working with them the whole way. It's not like you're making a decision in the dark and taking it to them. You actually take it the whole step of the process. Phil said that, in 2 months they did this process where they take the preliminary design program. Well, once you get those options, you have a preliminary design program, and MSBA says, oh yeah, those kind of make sense. We're not even at a point where we can even tell them what our options are because we don't even know what land we can use. But essentially, you evaluate the site, you look at the schools, you try to fit something on them, and you say, MSBA, we think these are what we can do with what we have. And then they say, okay, that makes sense. Or they say, well, let's modify, let's talk about this a little bit. And then you would develop those ones that made sense farther, and then you would make a decision, choice, for a preferred option. And then once that preferred option is chosen, then we focus on that one exclusively and really go to the finer detail. That finer detail leads to more exact cost estimates. Actually, we do 2 cost estimates. Designer does one, we do one, we as in the town. Those 2 cost estimators come together. They look at it as separate bid packages. And just as bids come in differently, these estimators will come in differently. They look and they find out why they're different. And so they kind of come up with a number that's very rational, that makes sense. And it helps your plans get better. But then you take that number, and that's the one that you go with and to the MSBA and to the town with that one option that's developed to a complete solution.
Okay.
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
I think we should just focus on the Baldwinville Road site
I agree.
myself, but that's my personal opinion.
I thought we
I
took
don't know
that vote.
anybody else.
I think we did.
We just voted to put this on the town meeting floor.
Right.
So why are we even talking about jumping the
Yeah, we shouldn't even
doing
talk.
any feasibility? I don't
Well,
That's-
the
that- I
question
guess that was my
was
point.
asked. The question was asked, are we going to do that?
She's just-
No, but Phil brought it
think-
up also.
I don't think
That
that
he
we'd
was gonna
really
go
want to
to
do that
MSBA.
unless the article that we put in doesn't pass. And we'll have to look for another option.
I think we're running out of options.
Yeah.
But I think for the growth of the town and
Well, I
for
think-
the investment, I think the Baldwinville
I
property.
think also that the feasibility study, without Phil actually doing much more than what he's already done, this is just my guess, that if he were to surmise things and tell you about it, more about the Templeton Center site, you may or may not come to the conclusion, one way or the other, that it's either a viable spot or not a viable spot. I think he did a quick synopsis of what he thinks is a problem with the site and what the issues are. But those also have to be documented with the MSBA somewhat. And so I think that if you were to explain it a little bit more, that you could, that it may not get thrown out, it may get added into. You may think, oh, that's the best thing, even though there are some shortfallings. But I think it most likely, when Phil looks at it closely and trying to, if the police station comes into play or not, I mean, I think you're going to find that probably is going to drop out. I don't know that for sure, but that's what he's trying to tell you as a professional. That's what, he hired you. He's trying to tell you that he doesn't think it's going to work. And some people can argue that he didn't do a very good job putting it on the building, because people have told me that. He's doing the best he can from the experience that he has with what there is. And maybe people aren't convinced of that yet. I know some people at town meeting aren't convinced of it, and other people don't want a 3-story building or whatever it is, or think you can fit one on there. And maybe we can.
Well, there was
Maybe
many
you
opinions
maybe you want it.
as there were, different
Yeah.
options. When we mentioned TC, there were people behind us who said, oh, no, that's not.
But I do think whether you can build on TC or not has to be answered in the feasibility study, because that will be something that will be brought up on town floor, and that's things that people will be asking. And maybe as we go through, we give Phil the go-ahead to start looking at stuff, maybe it'll come out and we'll all be convinced otherwise, that it's actually the best place to go. I mean, I think trying to predict the future and fortune tell is very hard in this business.
I just think with so many people in town so leery about what's going on, that we need a definite answer about the TC site. I think we need to know one way or another, yes, we can, or no, we can't. And with us, we can question all we want about the TC site, but unless we go to the town with a definite answer, no, it is not a possibility, we can't do it. I still always think they're gonna second guess us, that we just want to spend the money. I just think we need to go to town with the best answer. We need to be able to stand up there and say definitively, we cannot build on the TC site. This is our one preferred option. This is what we need to go with. I just think we need to definitely explore that, and I think we need to go to town with definite answers. Because we can say what we want, it's not good, and we can say that Phil looked at it and this is what he's saying. But until he can absolutely come 100%, these are all his things, saying I don't think these are the deficiencies with the site. But until he says, I cannot build on this site, I think there's always going to be people in this town that are going to question this committee and what we ultimately, the direction we went in. And it might cost us a little bit of money, but I
we have to pay, yeah.
in the end, we might end up with a yes vote.
But Carl just said that it's required as part of the feasibility that we eliminate that site. Didn't you just say that?
Yeah.
So he has to do some work on it.
Yeah, I think so. But I think
He has to,
I
because because otherwise then we're just going with this one site, we're not looking at our possibilities.
So is that true, that if we move forward with a feasibility study now, saying that the land in Baldwinville Road, we've got the purchase and sale, it's on the warrant, is the preferred option at the moment, but that we're going to rule out, as part of the feasibility, Phil's going to spend some time ruling out that TC is not a possibility?
Yeah,
And that's not gonna cost us more
I think in
money.
essence, he's already done that.
I don't know that
Yeah,
he's taken
but-
any further than he has for
I think in essence, in his mind, he's already done that to some extent.
In his mind,
saying
but what
to
does
some
he have to
extent.
do for MSBA's mind?
Right,
Yes.
just MSBA
Well,
say that's
it's for
out.
you as a committee to decide one or the other at some point in time.
Oh, wait, okay, hold on, now I'm confused
Yeah,
again. I thought you said that the feasibility study, we will have to present why this is not an option. The other, we can't just present one, that we're going to have to present other options and show why they weren't the preferred option.
I guess he's saying
Right.
that Phil's already done that.
Well,
I don't know that he'd do any more than he's already done.
Once you
to-
document the stuff, I
It's a
think,
document.
Yeah.
this is a synopsis of what
Yes, he's got.
of what he thinks he would present to the committee, I think, and as documentation as to, why you may or may not want to use that site.
And
So have not.
MSBA will feel like this is acceptable documentation to rule out TC.
Not in this
Well,
format.
I'm sure it will be written up in a much
Not in this
prettier
format.
format.
And I think that's what Carrie was asking for, because I think Carrie's saying, if he officially does it and says in official format that MSBA would approve, ruling it out is what's going to give us as a committee credibility. I think.
No, yeah,
That
that's
is what you're
correct,
saying.
because
That's
us
what
just having it
right.
him presenting to us, not going to,
No.
through MSBA, I
But
think that's
this
what we
is
need.
basically
The MSBA
what
is
he-
not
this
going
is
to tell you not to use that site.
Correct.
It's up to you as a building committee to decide
But
what's
up
the
to
best
you.
site to put a school on.
But then they can rule against it if it's not
They
appropriate.
can, yes.
But this is a summary of what his report is going to basically say, but he's not going to turn it
Yeah,
in like
that's what I would,
this.
yes.
Right, well, the night he presented that whole, I mean, he had a picture board and everything with, you know,
But he had taken the site that he was going to put on Brooks property and just put it on that
Right.
same piece of land.
But
So
he-
well, no, because it was 3 stories.
But he said he would do a more accurate drawing. He
Right.
said he would do it differently, that building, he just plunked on the site.
Right.
But he
Right.
said, I heard him say, he would put a building on that site that fit, didn't hang over and fall off, into the police
So
station.
when he submits it as part of the feasibility, is that?
I think that's what he said.
I mean,
When is that
you guys
gonna
probably don't
happen?
realize this, but all the work that Phil did for the Otter River piece of land, all those schematics that he did, all the schematics he did for the Templeton Center site, he has charged against his company as marketing. He has not charged the committee to do that work. So, it's not free to him to just, keep putting these options out. So he's been very generous, and he's probably done more work since we've had this problem than he did beforehand, almost, when you think about it,
But
which
it
he hasn't
sounds
charged you
like
for.
he would, part of that feasibility study would include his reasons, or our reasons why we're not
Yeah,
using
I can clarify that with him,
site.
but yeah.
And there's a building that he stuck on there, that he would put on there to show what this represents in some way, I would assume. And from what I gather, he has said to me anyway, and I think he said it to the group. And that should do it, I would think.
I mean, I think if you had, let's just say that we have the Baldenville site and the TC site as examples of places to build. And I think, put all the money aside, that I think that most people as a committee would probably pick the Baldwinville site you as a committee would probably pick that as a better place to build a school. I don't know that, but I get the sense that that's how you kind of voted last time, that you found that as a better place to build a school. So you as a committee would pick something else other than the TC site. The only reason we're thinking about TC, I think, is because we don't have anything else at this point in time.
Well, I think- But I think
and-
Harry's concern was, there are other people in town who would want to know that we ruled that out or ruled it in. I think unless we come forward with
Right.
that officially,
Yeah.
it remains an option for them. So as this committee seems to be disposed to the other site, we need to be able to show the community why that site isn't appropriate.
Right.
And there it is. And it obviously won't be in this format, and there should be some kind of a drawing of some sort, which I don't think will take them long to do. And that rules it out for people who ask the question.
Very good.
I think one simple phone call to the building inspector, who is the enforcer of the zoning regulations, can tell you right away whether you're allowed to put a 3-story building in the villages. Very, very simple. And Phil could do that very easily, just with a letter. And
Unless you get a variance.
if you can't build it, then you can't, why go any further?
Or you could get a variance.
Sometimes when you, the regulations for educational, if you declare a piece of property educational, you don't have to comply with some of the regular zoning requirements.
I
Although-
agree. It would be nice for him to give us that in a letter, then we
Yeah.
would know where we can
Right.
go.
Him,
But I
the
don't,
building inspector or Phil? The building inspector, you mean.
The building inspector, what did I say?
I think that is what you said. I
Okay.
was wondering what I heard, not what you said.
I wonder if we can move to adjourn.
Well, wait a second, we're gonna adjourn?
I'm asking. We've been hammering away at this for a while, you know.
Right, but
I'm just asking.
what are the next steps, and when are we meeting again, and who's doing what? Because we really need to, if it's in, are we gonna just wait now until town meeting in May and see if we can get a purchase and sales? That's, you know, or,
Somebody said we should check in with the building inspector, so who's going to...
I will gladly do that.
Right, so there's part of the plan, but what are the next steps that you're...
Well, we wanted to have some people try to get an appointment with MSBA, so...
Who is that going to be? Who's going to go to MSBA?
I would
Kyle's
love
going.
to go down.
I can go.
Who said, I'll go.
We can make a,
Doesn't matter, I'm
we can
gonna
make a
go.
phone call tomorrow and figure out when that might happen. They may not even require a,
Who will make the phone call?
I think it might be good from somebody from the district to say that, you know, the building committee has met. We'd like to, you know, tell you where we are and what's going on and what we're trying to do.
So is it John Junk you've been speaking with, or is it our...
John Jump would be fine, yeah, because I actually spoke with John Jump on Tuesday. I was down for another meeting. I walked in the door, there's John. Well, I'm going to take advantage of that. You know, I said, John, I'll tell you what's going on with Templeton. I think we've got a piece of land, I'm not sure. We're trying to go into purchase and sales. We might have that in an existing site to work on. I said, but I don't think we're going to make, you know, our June deadline. I said, okay, you know, I'll talk to others about that in the department, but he didn't sound, you know, he didn't sound overly concerned, but it does sound like we were making progress. But you need to talk to others and bounce it around. I mean, they know that you guys have had a hard time, that you've had issues. They know that the town, you know, has had some reorganization that they've had to deal with. They're looking, I think, as always, they're looking for a plan of how you plan to move forward.
So do we have an extension?
We have some people who go down. What I guess I'd like to have submitted to me is any particular question you have, other than the ones we've talked about. If there's anything else I should ask, we should ask. We might as well know what they are and present them. I will call him tomorrow. If I'm having trouble getting through, I will ask you to call.
Okay.
But I'll make the phone call.
Can you, Carl, ask Bill? We can't go to town meeting floor the way we did before with just that land and no concept. Can we put a concept on that, on something, so that a town meeting floor, when we're talking about this, we're only asking for a purchase and sale, but they will at least have a concept design that they can wrap their head around?
And you want a dollar amount, don't you?
No, huh? Well, Peter said we could get like a ballpark, right? We're not gonna get
I'm
it.
sure Phil could give us that.
But you know what, I mean, so if we're gonna go to town meeting floor, which it sounds like we agreed, because we put the article in, then we have to start selling something to the town. And what does that something look like? So the sooner that he could just do something on that land for us as a concept, that would be greatly helpful, because we're gonna have to get out there and get people at the town meeting. Because it's gonna be a win, lose, or draw in May.
Like it was last year, we had to get everything out there, we had to get the flyers out there, we had to
Yeah,
get...
but we didn't have
No, we
they didn't have
I
the
understand,
picture.
we'll have more, but we did go out.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons why they didn't do the concept was, I remember John the clerk had said that when we had tried to do the, I don't remember what school, it may have been the high school, when we were doing that, they did a concept drawing very early on before it was built, obviously. But people almost committed them to that drawing and kept saying, well, why doesn't it look like that drawing that I saw? And they were almost married to that drawing of that school. So I think John had said, you know, I think we should have any pictures, because, you know, people just remember that and they're saying, you know, what happened to that drawing? I want that. You know, I remember seeing that.
What if it's skeletal in a way, with an estimate of, you think the estimate of the cost would also do the same thing? Because they seem to want that.
Yeah.
But if we give them that...
As long as it's not too detailed, I think it would be okay. I wouldn't give, I remember Phil's
early on in this committee, years and years ago, we had a picture that he did of a, and I think it's here somewhere, but very detailed of what a school could look like. And it's probably not even going to look like that, but people who have seen that will probably think, gee, well, why doesn't it look like that picture I saw 8 years ago, you know, and, you know, why aren't we using that? You know, we already had him develop something for us, and, you know, obviously, it's been 8 years, and our needs have changed, and the area, you know, what we're gonna develop is different, but, you know, they just have this idea of what they saw, and it's turned into something completely different, so.
How far off are model schools? You know, if we do a model school, if this is a bigger site, no?
Don't even think about it.
Huh?
You pretty much get invited into the model school process. I mean, I don't know how they decide on that.
Oh.
There is no
all right.
elementary model school.
There is.
Oh, there is?
Yeah,
Because I
Margot
thought
Jones
there
has
was-
one.
Oh, okay. How
I'm
convenient.
just thinking that if you can get that, and then it would be more like what the school is actually going to
Right.
look like, because it's built on the model school, which also reduces your costs, right, of construction, or should?
Sure.
I think we take the next step of, you know, having this discussion or meeting with the MSBA, and maybe in a couple of weeks, come back with another building committee meeting.
Can we pick a date?
Yes.
Should.
So, Jerry, you're gonna talk to the building inspector, you're gonna call the MSBA, and I don't know if you're gonna talk to Phil about anything yet, are you?
Well, Phil and I will talk.
Val, do I send that answer to you? Do I have him send the answer to you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
He can
we'll
just,
talk.
Huh?
Yeah.
so, week
Give you a
after
card.
next or something?
Give it to him.
I got your card.
I'll give you a spare one.
Okay.
Week
Hand them
after.
out all over the place.
So the week of the 26th? Who's Sandra?
Get in the calendar, I think.
Oh,
Can we go out a few can we pick out a few meetings?
Yeah.
Not just the next meeting, but can we get meetings in place for people that need to do scheduling and
cancel them if we don't.
and if we don't meet them, we could cancel them, but if we at least put them in place.
Okay, I move we establish a regular schedule of meetings and cancel them if they do not indeed take place.
that's fine.
And we're in March, and we have April, May, can we do it every 2 weeks? Is that too
It's
much?
better to say the second something of
Yeah.
the month and the
The second and
third
fourth
or
Thursday in the
whatever.
month.
Go ahead. I was
Yeah,
just
but
looking
usually
maybe
we-
saying two, instead
Right.
of-
Usually
We're
we
saying
hit,
the same thing, or
usually we hit like one day that Rosalie can do, so it's always dependent upon the school calendar and all that, so.
Do we
I don't-
wanna
You
go
can't,
back
I
on
don't know if you can just say the
Tuesdays?
second and fourth Tuesdays of the month, because that's just not gonna,
You'll also have to post out too, if you can, you know,
Yeah.
so that people know.
So in 2 weeks, it would be the 27th of March.
if it's a Tuesday, right?
That's back to a
Day on the
Tuesday.
hill.
Well, but that's all during the day, we're
There's
at night.
something else, isn't there something else on that day?
But I mean, that's during the day. I mean,
Yeah,
if we
that's
meet
during
at
the day.
6 or
There's nothing in the
6:30 at night, we could meet.
I thought there was something in the evening, no. Okay.
Do you want your book?
No, your book should look like my book.
Theoretically.
So
So
6:30
on the
27th?
27th?
Oh, you're good. She's pulled up every other Tuesday.
How about 2 weeks later then?
That's the 10th, that's regional agreement.
Whatever that means.
That's not on at 5:30 again. Like we did tonight.
But you only have an hour. Can we do it all in an hour?
Is that the 10th?
We
Well,
could do it in an
if we
hour.
met
We
2
don't really
weeks
know what we're
before,
doing, so
I think
maybe
we'd
we
be able to
can.
do it. If we had more meetings, we could probably get things
Right,
done in a
do
shorter
more.
amount of time.
The regional agreement committee
Yes.
is
It's on the 10th,
and it starts at what time?
6:30.
So we could start at 5:30. We'll probably be finished, or you could go a little late to the regional committee.
I think they meet here, don't they?
They do.
Right
I mean,
here in the
that might be a
center.
little, the conference room.
They could go in the conference room or,
12?
The 10th.
The 10th.
Oh.
So I'm just trying to,
Oh.
if you guys don't think.
Oh,
that-
we get negotiations on the 12th.
So let's just do the 10th, Lori. We can do it in
Yeah,
an
that's
hour.
fine.
10th at 5:30.
Yeah, 10th.
So that one's at
April 10th is another
5:30?
Tuesday,
Oh, boy.
5:30.
4:30, 5:30, 6:30. Busy day. Get it over with.
You want another
What
one?
was that, April 10?
April 10th
5.
at 5:30.
March
We know we can't
27th,
do-
they all 5:30 now?
No, we went to 5:30 because the
Okay,
regional
just-
agreement was on.
Okay, so March 27th is 6:30.
Yep.
Okay.
April
Well, we
10th
don't
would
want
be
Phil to come
5:30, and then
unless he has to.
April 24th
He's doing it for free.
is at 6:30. That's fine? What day is town meeting?
What was that, 6:30 again?
May
That's it, yeah, that's it.
May 7th?
I believe it's May 7th. No, May 7th is the election. No, this isn't, May 7th is the election, and the following Monday, I believe, is the town meeting. Is that the 15th, 14th?
14th.
May 14th?
May 14th, so that's the time.
So did you want to meet May 8th? That would be 2 weeks after the 24th.
Maybe before town
April
meeting.
24th would be what? May 8th?
May 8th, that would be just before town meeting.
Yeah,
Are we
probably.
doing the 24th? Is that this one?
May
I think
8th.
we're doing the 24th at 6:30.
So we want to do the May 8th.
Now we're
too.
up to May 8th at 6:30, I assume.
Yeah.
So that really only gives us 1, 2, 3, 4 meetings before town meeting.
So we have to figure out how to get people to the meeting and.
We're going to have to do a lot to get the word out, but then we're going to need
They're all
that
6:30 other than the second
that
one. which is
design,
at
and we're going to need
5:30.
to reject TC if that's the case. Structures on.
Okay. Any other business?
Well, we did have a motion to regulate it, Mr. Claybon said there was no second, no.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Aye.
Any second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, any other business?
Yeah.
But we need a motion and vote on it.
Nobody else has anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Okay, motion adjourned. Second, all in favor? Aye.
Careful about making that.
Lori, was that design the one that had the senior center attached to it?
You know what, I don't
His
think it
original